The 1990s were an era of rebellion, innovation, and speed. An era where motorcycle manufacturers didn't just want to sell bikes, they wanted to produce machines that would redefine history and rewrite what motorcycles would become. In Japan, Italy, and Britain, every engineering team had the same secret goal: to be the lightest, sharpest, yet fastest motorcycle in the world, regardless of their efficiency. But behind the chrome and horsepower were rivalries, egos, and legends in the making. Today, we will examine the 15 fastest motorcycles of the 1990s, the decade that redefined speed and created legends that still roar in memory. Let's get right into it. Before the Hayabusa ruled the highways, Kawasaki had already written its name in the Book of Legends. The ZX-11, known as the ZZR 1100 in Europe, was the fastest production bike in the world for 6 years straight. Its top speed was a record of 169 to 176 miles per hour, a record no one had broken before. It wasn't just fast, it was ferocious. With 1,052 cubic centimeters, 147 horsepower, and a top speed of 176 miles per hour, this machine was the definition of 90s dominance. But what made it special was its soul. Riders said it felt alive. It was a beast that demanded respect, and it worked its way to getting it. The ZX-11 was heavyweight, but in the right hands, it was poetry at 180 miles per hour. It was the bike that defined the early 90s. Anyone who could afford it was automatically an elite. And if you couldn't, you'd wish you did. Eventually, it was outpaced by the Honda CBR 11000 X6 in 1996. But by that time, the ZZR 11100 had already set the bar unimaginably high, so that it was almost impossible to beat. In the 1990s, when motorcycles were a thing of pride, Honda released the RVF 750 to dominate the market. It was a fully faired racing motorcycle created for homologation purposes for the Superbike World Championship by Honda Racing Corporation. The RVF 750R was the successor to the VFR 750R. Like its predecessor, the RVF 750R featured a DOHC liquid-cooled V4 four-stroke engine with gear-driven cams and a single-sided swing arm. But unlike the RC30, it utilized electronic fuel injection in a setup very similar to the production 1992 NR750. The US Espèce engine had, at its core, a 749 cubic centimeter capacity and was rated at 101 horsepower, while producing about 12,000 revolutions per minute. The European version was rated at 118 horsepower. It was manufactured from 1994 to 1995 and sold in limited numbers. The United States received the model for its first year only, followed by the VTR 1000 SP1 RC51 in the year 2000. Unlike the VFR 750R, RC30, and VFR 750F, from which the engine was originally derived, the gear drive for the cams was moved from the center of the engine in between the cylinders to one side, allowing a slightly narrower engine. On paper, it could pass for Ducati 916, but on track, it delivered Honda the 1999 World Sports Superbike title, carving its name on the sands of time. Today, the VFR 750R is like a treasure for collectors. While the VFR 750R slowly went away, the next motorcycle on our list made chaotic riding a trend. The Suzuki FR 900R was one of the fastest motorcycles to ever grace the 90s. It wasn't built to chase world records. It was the record itself. Launched in 1994, it arrived in a decade obsessed with horsepower, top speed, and bragging rights. Yet, the RF 900R didn't shout. It whispered power. With a 937 cubic centimeter inline-4 engine derived from the legendary GSXR 1100, it packed 125 horsepower and could reach 161 miles per hour, which was quite outstanding for its time. But what made this motorcycle stand out was not in the numbers. It was in how it made riders feel. The RF 900R handled with a balance that many superbikes of its time lacked. It was stable, forgiving, and yet thrillingly responsive. It could carve corners one moment and cruise the highway the next. In magazines of the era, it was often called the sleeper superbike. It wasn't as glamorous as the others. No flashy marketing, but in the hands of a skilled rider, it could embarrass faster, louder bikes without breaking a sweat. In terms of style, the RF 900R stood apart. It had that distinct 90s aerodynamic fairing, wide headlights, and a unique rear design that made it instantly recognizable to real enthusiasts. But the most beautiful thing about the RF 900R was its character. It wasn't perfect, it ran hot. It demanded attention in corners, but it gave back everything you asked for and a little more. When Suzuki discontinued it in 1999, the RF 900R slipped quietly into legend. No farewell campaigns, no glory parade. Yet today, among those who truly understand motorcycles, it is remembered as one of the purest riding experiences of the 90s, a motorcycle that defined subtle speed. The RF 900R didn't try to dominate headlines, rather it dominated hearts. If there was ever a motorcycle that combined art and speed, it was the Ducati 916. It wasn't the fastest motorcycle at the time, but with a top speed of 160 miles per hour. It was pure Italian passion on two wheels. Its blend of breathtaking beauty, outrageous engine performance, and handling made it stand out. Designed by Massimo Tamburini, the 916's twin headlights, under-seat exhausts, and sharp bodywork became timeless symbols. Featuring a 916 cubic centimeter fuel-injected, 4-valve Desmo, liquid-cooled, 90-degree V twin engine in a trellis frame with a single-sided swing arm and USD forks, the 916 is frequently cited as one of the most beautiful motorcycles ever. Every angle was crafted like a sculpture, every rev was a heartbeat, and on the track, it dominated, winning multiple World Superbike Championships. The 916 wasn't built to break records, it was built to break hearts. Speaking of racetracks, the next motorcycle on our list combines both racetrack and highways. Yamaha's answer to the Superbike Championships came with elegance and fury. The Thunder Ace combined the soul of a racer with the comfort of a tourer. It wasn't the outright fastest, topping out at 168 miles per hour, but it was loved for something else: control. It gave the riders the authority they needed. The throttle response was sharp and the power delivery smooth as silk. In an era obsessed with chaos, the Thunder Ace struck a balance. It served both grace and motion. At the heart of this motorcycle was a 1,000 cubic centimeter inline-4 engine that produced about 145 horsepower, which was enough to make it compete with the fastest motorcycles at the time. The combination of horsepower and torque made the motorcycle incredibly fast, while still providing the balance and control needed for precision. The YZF 1000R offered riders a perfect blend of high-speed capability and stability. It might not have been the most popular, but it was one of the fastest and most versatile at the time. It also laid the foundation for what would later become the R1, the legend that took over in 1998. Let's look at its successor. If the Thunder Ace was the storm before the calm, the R1 was the explosion. When Yamaha unveiled it in 1998, the world stood still in awe. The R1 was light, fast, and frighteningly beautiful. It hit 176 miles per hour, but it felt faster. All thanks to its 998 cubic centimeter engine, 150 horsepower, and a chassis so compact it redefined sport bike design. The R1's motor was not only light, but also short, meaning the chassis team could use a longer swing arm for greater traction while retaining a sports bike wheelbase. It did not just blow the competition out of the water with its 150 brake horsepower, it ran rings around the Porky Fireblade thanks to a 177 kilogram dry weight and sharp geometry. The first modern sports bike had arrived and it was very special indeed. Not to mention a touch lively on the handling magazines called it a revolution on two wheels. It represented its predecessor very well, and they weren't wrong. The arm. One didn't just join the race, it reset the rules. Before the Fireblade, superbikes were obsessed with one thing, which was raw power. But in 1992, Honda decided to change the game. They realized that speed isn't just about horsepower, it's about balance, control, and precision. Then came the Honda CBR 900RR Fireblade, a motorcycle that turned the 1990s superbike world around. Developed by Tadao Baba, a visionary Honda engineer, the Fireblade's creation was a rebellion against the bigger is better philosophy that dominated the era. Baba had a different philosophy. He believed that a bike didn't need 1,200 cubic centimeters to be fast. It just needed to be light. So, Honda built an 893 cubic centimeter engine wrapped in a frame so lean. Who would have thought that a superbike that weighed just 185 kilograms, which was almost 40 kilos lighter than its rivals, could do exploits? It hit 165 miles per hour, but it wasn't just the top speed that stunned riders. It was the way it moved. The Fireblade darted into corners like a scalpel. It responded to the slightest input with surgical precision. Riders who grew up wrestling heavy 1,100 cubic centimeter motorcycles suddenly felt free, as if the Fireblade had redefined what handling truly meant. Even with its name, Fireblade, one should know that it wasn't meant to sound cool. It was a mistranslation of the Japanese word for lightning-fast sword, and that's exactly what it was. A blade meant for precision and agility. The design, too, was distinct, compact, and aerodynamic. It didn't just look fast, it felt alive. Magazines of the time called it a revolution on wheels. For the first time, a superbike felt like an extension of the rider, not a monster to tame, but a partner to dance with. And when riders took it to the racetrack, it did more than compete. It humiliated bigger bikes, proving that finesse could outrun brute force. By the late 90s, the Fireblade had evolved, growing slightly in size and power, but that original 1992 spirit, that raw, untamed agility, remains legendary. Any 90s rider could attest to the fact that the first time they rode a Fireblade, it didn't feel like they were on a motorcycle. It felt like you were inside one part of the machine. The Fireblade didn't just change speed, it changed philosophy. In 1994, when superbike racing was a big deal, Kawasaki blended the speed of a superbike with the weight of a 600 cubic centimeter racer and created a monster. The ZX-9R could reach 168 miles per hour, powered by an 899 cubic centimeter inline-4 engine, producing 143 horsepower and aggressive geometry. Top speed was about 176 miles per hour, which was enough to compete with the superfast motorcycles, nicknamed the Gentleman's Express. It delivered a big performance without beating you up. It didn't chase trophies. Rather, it won the hearts of riders with reliability, efficiency, durability, and all-around usability. It was more raw, more unpredictable, and that's exactly why riders loved it. It had the soul of the track, but the heart of the street. The ZX-9's power curve is stronger up to about 7,500 revolutions per minute. It dips a bit from there to 8,500 revolutions per minute, then takes off as the blade tails away. Fortunately, it was so easy to service too, with no complicated electronics and plenty of space for easy access. You didn't even need to remove the fairing to change the oil and filter, which was nice. Riders could easily use mineral oil without the motorcycle breaking down. And when retightening the sump plug, it was easy to strip the threads if you're heavy-handed, so that was handled with utmost care and attention. In many ways, it was Kawasaki saying, "Speed isn't just about numbers, it's about nerves." The 1990s saw a rush of new V-twin sports machines, which were born by the success of the Ducati 916. Suzuki's first attempt was the TL1000S. It was one of the boldest motorcycles of the 90s, a very stylish piece made with a host of innovative technologies. It was both admired and feared by riders. This 996 cubic centimeter V-twin engine produced 125 horsepower and 76 pound-feet of torque, with a top speed of roughly 165 miles per hour at 9,000 revolutions per minute. The TL1000S received some criticisms as regards its handling, particularly claims that it was susceptible to front instability. Suzuki decided to proffer a solution to that problem by adding a steering damper shortly after the bike was introduced and fitting the damper to customers' bikes. The system reacted unpredictably, especially under hard acceleration. The rear end could snap, sending the bike into violent tank slappers, sudden, uncontrollable handlebar shakes that terrified even seasoned riders. Within months, the TL1000S earned a dark nickname, the Widowmaker, because it wasn't just fast, it was feral. It was a raw, mechanical beast that quickly gained a reputation that would echo through motorcycling history. Motorcycle magazines both feared and adored it. They called it a masterpiece of madness, a bike that punished arrogance but rewarded skill. Riders learned to respect it, to approach it like taming a wild animal. Despite its flaws, the TL1000S had a rare soul, unpredictable energy that made every ride feel alive. Its power delivery was instant, its torque curve intoxicating. The exhaust note, a deep, thunderous growl that still gives. Riders chills today. And yet, for all its chaos, it paved the way for greatness. Its twin-cylinder engine would go on to power the TL1000R, the SV1000, and even influence later generations of V-twin superbikes. The TL1000S wasn't a failure, it was a legend born from risk. A reminder that innovation often lives on the edge of disaster. Today, collectors call it the last true wild child of the 90s. No electronics, no traction control, no mercy, just raw mechanical instinct and human courage. This was Honda's masterpiece and madness. It was a way of saying, we could do the impossible. The NR750 wasn't just a motorcycle, it was a statement of engineering arrogance. It featured oval pistons, allowing 8 valves per cylinder and 2 connecting rods per cylinder. Effectively, it was a V8, disguised as a V4. It revved higher, breathed better, and delivered smoother power than anything on the planet. Under the fairings lay a 747 cubic centimeter V4 with oval pistons, pumping out 125 horsepower at 14,000 revolutions per minute. Its top speed was around 160 miles per hour. It wasn't the fastest of its era, but that wasn't the point. It cost more than a car at the time, yet Honda never meant to sell many. They built it to prove they could. Today, it still remains one of the rarest and most collectible bikes in existence, a symbol of 90s innovation at its wildest. The 888 SP5 was a limited motorcycle produced by Ducati for one purpose, which was to win. At the time of its production, the world of superbikes was changing fast. Japanese manufacturers were building rockets, faster, cheaper, and more reliable. Ducati's response was the 888 SP5. Underneath this motorcycle hid an 888 cubic centimeter Desmoquattro V-twin, producing 118 horsepower, which was modest by Japanese standards, but deceptively potent. It was efficient. Its power came on with a deep, addictive growl. It was raw, mechanical, and visceral. Every twist of the throttle felt like summoning something primal. Its trellis frame, a Ducati trademark, gave it razor-sharp agility. Its Brembo brakes and Öhlins suspension made it a racer's dream. It was perfectly balanced and beautifully poised. On the track, it was unstoppable. But what truly made the SP5 legendary was its soul. It wasn't built in massive numbers, only a few hundred ever rolled off the line, each hand-tuned by Ducati's finest. It was a motorcycle that felt crafted, not manufactured. Every ride was an experience. From the clutch heavy, the throttle stiff, the power was raw. Yet it was that imperfection that made it beautiful. The SP5 demanded commitment, and when you gave it, it gave back everything. It was, in many ways, the last of the pure racing. Ducatis before the 916 brought style and elegance into the equation. If the 916 was art, the 888 SP5 was war. Any rider who used it would attest to the fact that the SP5 wasn't just fast, it was alive. Its thunderous twin-cylinder growl wasn't just an exhaust note, it was a heartbeat. The sound of Italian engineering at its most passionate. Even today, when the SP5 fires up, it carries the weight of history, and it will forever be remembered. This motorcycle was not built to fit in. It was meant to stand out. With a sharp frame, a high-revving inline-4, and innovation buried in the exhaust, it turned raw horsepower into repeatable speed. At the heart of this motorcycle was a liquid-cooled 4-stroke engine, displacing 1,002 cubic centimeters with 5 valves per cylinder. What made this motorcycle stand out was a servo-controlled valve in the exhaust that adjusted back pressure as the revs climbed. It made around 145 horsepower at 10,000 revolutions per minute. Test riders recorded times just above 10 seconds flat. On the strip, the FZR 1000 X-Coupe could run the quarter mile in 10.1 seconds, reaching a speed of over 135 miles per hour. Indeed, it stood out and rewrote what Yamaha is today. At the end of the decade, Suzuki dropped a bombshell, the Hayabusa. With the name alone, one could tell it didn't come to play. Its name came from a Japanese falcon known for diving at over 300 kilometers per hour, and it lived up to it. The Hayabusa clocked 194 miles per hour, a number that forced the industry to form a gentleman's agreement to stop the speed wars. Beneath its sleek wind tunnel body was a 1,299 cubic centimeter engine, Riding on it was smooth, angry, and unstoppable. What made it stand out wasn't just power, it was poise. You could ride it to the store or across countries, and it would purr like a predator waiting for an excuse to strike. When riders first saw it, they didn't just see a bike, they saw the end of an era. Because after the Hayabusa, no one dared go faster. The VFR 750R RC30 was built for one purpose, which was to win the inaugural World Superbike Championship. It was a limited production homologation special, hand-assembled by Honda's elite engineers. It hit 155 miles per hour, but that number doesn't tell the story. This was the bike that redefined precision engineering. It rewrote the rules of sports replica, superbikes, and sport bikes in one hit. Beneath this motorcycle was a four-stroke, 90-degree, four-cylinder, producing 748 cubic centimeters. Every nut, every weld, every piece was crafted with perfection, and when it hit the track, it won again and again. Even today, collectors say riding the RC30 feels like time traveling into an era where machines had souls. When the CBR 1100 Sexy was produced, it brought the world to a standstill. By surpassing the 186 miles per hour ceiling, it delivered an experience that was polished and calculated. The name alone, Super Blackbird, was enough to tell the kind of wonder it was. It was Honda's strike against Kawasaki. It's 1,137 cubic centimeters inline-four and produces about 164 horsepower. In 1996, Honda engineers had one goal, which was to dethrone the ZX-11, and they did. The Blackbird hit 178 miles per hour, stealing the crown away. But Honda didn't just build a fast bike, they took their time to study, and they built a masterpiece of refinement. Aerodynamics that sliced the wind, balance that made 300 kilometers per hour feel like 200, and the reliability only Honda could deliver. In Japan, it was said that engineers designed it with the precision of a samurai blade. And true to its name, the Super Blackbird hunted down every rival and left them in its jet stream. The 1990s were more than just a decade of fast bikes. It was a time when engineers became artists and riders became legends. From the smell of burnt rubber, the smell of carburetors, the thrill of speed without electronics or safety nets, these machines were dangerous, beautiful, and imperfect, yet loved by all. The 90s were not just about speed, they gave us a soul, the kind that still echoes today every time an engine roars to life. Because at the end of the day, speed fades, but legends would never be forgotten in a hurry.